Welcome back to Hold and Modify, YouTube's most poorly produced, underproduced Amiga channel. It's Q. Look what I got. A really, really dusty CD32. My goodness, what could I possibly say about this? Haven't I already made videos on this?
This computer will rule the world.
Commodore had tried to do consoles before. They came out with like a Commodore 64 era console type machine. And then they tried it again with the CD32. You've got your volume control headphone jack. And yeah, you lift this up and you pop in your disc and close her up and off she goes. Is it going to close? Ooh, gosh, it's a little tight. Yeah, and then you see like a keyboard over here. And if you come up over here, I think somewhere, yep, there's a mouse hidden away. I'll talk about that in a second. But it is technically the world's first 32-bit CD gaming console. Now, this came out in 93. There was some kind of weird funky console that came out in Japan in 1991, I guess. That's technically the first 32-bit CD-based gaming system. But this was like the first mainstream global version. Now, I say global, but it never did come to the United States due to some legalities and legal issues and patents or something. This didn't make it to the United States officially. Now, at the Amiga dealership I worked at, we did have them. Our dealership was fairly close to Canada, so we would get NTSC versions from a Canadian distributor shipped to our store, and we'd sell them there. That's how we got that. This is a Canadian NTSC CD32, by the way, which is awesome for me. Although, as I'm about to get to in a second here, there's lots of things you can do with this, so that doesn't really matter. While being the world's first, 32-bit CD-ROM video game system, oh, it's amazing. How come no one's heard of this? How come it didn't take off? Well, what does it always come down to, right? Games. There just wasn't a lot of great games for it. There's a mild collection of specific titles for this. Very few of them were actually optimized and designed for the CD32. Most of them were just old Amiga games, which this technology, of course, is based on. This is essentially an Amiga 1200, a custom chip, the Akiko. And the Akiko was basically to try and make up for, as far as I can tell, the lack of fast memory. This thing was a 14 megahertz 68020 with no FPU and no fast memory. So you had 2 megs of RAM. And the Akiko chip did like I don't know, it's tech stuff, like chunky to planar conversion or something of graphics to help speed things up. Because it didn't have any fast memory, that's basically all it had. So that chip wasn't even utilized in most of the games as far as I can tell. I think Wing Commander that came out for this is actually really awesome to play on the CD32. I think that was one of the few games that actually utilized the Akiko. Now, in an ideal world, you'd have games that used the Akiko chip and fast memory of the CD32, but the fact that it didn't come from the factory with any fast memory, nobody optimized for it. So of course you can upgrade the CPU and fast memory in this. And in fact, you can turn it into a full computer, which is why you see the keyboard and the mouse over there. It didn't come like that from the factory. The video game manufacturers can't say, oh, by the way, buy this console and please turn it into an Amiga so we can make better games for it. That wasn't going to happen. So yeah, it fell flat on its face. Also, the same lawsuit or whatever that prevented the CD32 from being released in America was one of the many pegs that finally made Commodore go out of business. I mean, it was part of all of that whole Commodore finally just getting trashed and going away. I mean, it went away for many reasons. I'm not saying the CD32 is why Commodore went out of business. No, it's just one of the things of that era that was part of it. So let me go ahead and flip this on so I can stop talking and not showing and show you what I've done to it. Because yeah, you can put a disc into it. In fact, if we look down here, this is an actual native CD32 game. And I have shown this in other videos. So if you want to see me suffering through Gunship, you can look at my old videos where on the CD32. Please look them up. They're worth a watch. But what I wanted to talk about in depth a little more is turning this into a computer is actually kind of fun. And let's go ahead and power it on. All right, so we've got the CD32 powered up. And right away, you're like, well, wait a minute. Is that what it looks like when you turn it on? No, when you turn the CD32 on, it has a proper CD32 boot screen. Again, shown all that in my prior video. This is Amiga Game Selector. It's your all-in-one Amiga game box. Now, not every single game that ever came out is available on this WHD load format. The point is, this is just a really great way to get somebody exposed or into the world of Amiga gaming with just this one little box you can lug around. In fact, I was thinking about putting this downstairs and plugging it into the the home theater area or whatever with everything else I've got down there, because it's just sitting up here collecting dust, and people come over and they're often like, hey, I want to check out some Amiga games, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go check it out. And we come up here and we play it on this monitor with the S-video input and stuff. But I was thinking, man, it's a console, right? I should plop it down there with the other console, and they can be console buddies, and we can play games. But yeah, Amiga Game System is great for picking stuff. In fact, we'll go here. All right, sorry for that, fumbling around trying to find something to play. Hey, look at that! Look at this, Wing Commander. Remember I said I don't have Wing Commander? Well, I don't, but it's on the AGS. And this is actually the CD32 version. And like I said, I think this is a version of the game that took advantage of that Akiko chip properly. And some folks say it's actually a pretty decent way to experience this game. So let's go ahead and fire it up. I'm just using the amazing Amiga gamepad here that it comes with. Here's the typical WHD load things. You can enable cheats and other little goodies, and you can pick these things before the game starts. I don't think you can hear it, so I don't have to worry about copyright or whatever. But yeah, you get the full cool Wing Commander. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. But yeah, I do have the keyboard and the mouse, obviously, and you could use this to use mouse and keyboard stuff if and when needed. So we'll let that just go ahead and play on there. This is an upgraded CD32. This is no longer a 20 megahertz 6820. I believe this is a 40 megahertz 6830 with like 64 megs of RAM. Now, you're thinking, well, of course this looks great. You've got a 6830 running at like, 40 megahertz, whatever. A stock CD32 did actually play the Wing Commander CD32 version pretty darn well. Like it was pretty good. It was pretty smooth. Yes, with the 6830, it's going to be even more fluid, and it's just going to give you a much more pleasant experience. But I would argue that yes, if you do look into getting one of these, if you can find one for a deal, you're going to want to do the CPU upgrade anyway, because it gives you the ability to have a faster CPU, gives you the fast memory, allows you to plug in a mouse and a keyboard. You couldn't do that by default. So it lets you have more options. Like how many Amigas can you buy, right? These things are so expensive nowadays. If you're going to buy one Amiga, at least with this one, you can have an Amiga computer, a 1200 basically, right? And also the CD32 console, which is super cool, and you can play the discs that you can get for it, or you install like this Amiga game type system package on it, and you can play as many games as you can gather, really, or as many as the Amiga game system is gathered, I guess. So is it loading? I don't know. Maybe I need to use the keyboard or mouse. I click buttons, nothing's happening. Go over to the keyboard. Here, see, this is why you have a keyboard. By the way, this keyboard is super cool. It's a super old Sunrace racer, but it kind of matches the CD32, even though it's not really meant to be. So let me figure out what's going on here. We'll smash the space bar. Oh, see, now look, I pushed the space bar, and now it's working. So there's an example of where, do you need a gamepad? Or a keyboard and a gamepad? Probably. Anyone who's played this game, by the way, yeah, you play a sim and you die in it. Do I actually have to show you how this game works?
Are you serious?
Right, so if you guys have played this, there's like a whole story intro to this game. It takes a while to get going. There's like a whole thing, but it's cool. Like they really did a great job. The colors look great. It really does take advantage of the CD32's abilities, and the port, some would say this is one of the better ports of the original Wing Commander to play, even versus the original DOS version. A lot of folks say that the CD32 is like one of the best ways to play it. The port's really good, the audio's clean, the graphics look great, and it runs pretty smooth. And obviously, if you play it with a boosted CD32 like this one has, or you're running an emulator and you can increase the CPU speed, all the better, right? So let me go ahead and hit the escape key. Then you get into, Workbench. So now this is where I bought a CD32 and I've got an Amiga gaming console, the first 32-bit CD-ROM released globally. Cool. I've even got a couple games for it. Neat. But if you spend some time and money on it to get it to become a full computer, kind of like folks have done with the old CD-TV, although I haven't really done that because I don't have everything for it. But just as the CD-TV could be made into a real full Amiga 500 computer, I have done a video on this, a couple by now, that some of you may have seen. Yeah, the CD32. This is your standalone AGA Amiga. This one has 64 megs of memory, and if we go to the About, Kickstart 4060, Workbench 4042, so you've got the full Amiga world of things. Look, one of my favorites, Vista Pro, WHD Load, Mandel 2000, Disney Animation Studio, Audio Master. But as you can see, this Amiga game system install also includes some fun stuff, so that when you want to come into Amiga mode, you've actually got some things you can play around with and experience the joy of the Amiga operating system. Anyway, this is connected, by the way, to this Dell monitor. And yes, this Dell monitor does support native Amiga modes, sort of. Not really. This is a really old, heavy, gigantic, like 30-pound Dell. And I don't know, I think it was designed for kiosk use, but it has all kinds of inputs in the back. And one of them is an S-Video input. So I'm using what I like to call the authentic video output, the superior authentic video output of the CD32, which was the native S-Video. And it looks great. I mean, this looks super awesome. Yes, with the same CPU card that I've got in there, that gives me the mouse and keyboard support, it also gives you Amiga RGB video support. So you could have super awesome RGB. What I like about S-Video is that this is an interlace screen right now, okay? And it is flickering, but on this particular monitor and through the S-Video input, the flicker is so soft and subtle, guys. I know the camera removes flicker, so that's kind of a problem, but even to my naked eyes, my bald, glossy eyes right now, there is very, very little perceptible flicker. It's so nice. That's one of the reasons I really like how clean the S-Video output on the CD32 is, especially going into this monitor. So this is a Workbench set to high-res interlace mode, and it looks great. Like I said, is it flickering? Yes, it is, but it's so subtle, so subtle. So if we go into like something like Vista Pro, the program I know, oh, well, look at this. This is a full Vista Pro install. It's got Terraform, the MakePath program, which makes animating in Vista Pro actually easy. Very cool. See, they've even included the FPU version because I have that good old expand. Oh, I guess I don't. Okay, so there is a chance the expansion I have in this CD32 is not one with an FPU. Oopsie. So there you go. That's what happens when you try to run the FPU version and you don't have an FPU. I actually thought this had the, look at that little activity light going. Isn't that nice? So yeah, there's the game selector booting up. There's its welcome screen. And then yeah, once you get into good old AGS and you're done appreciating it's awesome, you just hit the escape key. It will dump you out to Workbench. So let's try that again. Let's go into work. Let's just run the non-FPU version. Yeah, okay. Ooh, that's slow. That was slow. One of the cool things about an S-Video output, especially a clean one like this, see how this Vista Pro thing here is square? That's correct. That's what it's supposed to be. When you launch Vista Pro 3, whatever monitor you have it plugged into, okay, whether it's a 4x3 monitor or a 16x9, if you launch Vista Pro, this needs to be square. And as you can see, it is square. So that's a good sign. Again, this is flickering, but it's very, very manageable. I could look at this for a long time, and this flicker would not bother me. It's pretty subtle. Having an Amiga, full Amiga, on your CD32 is completely possible. It's an add-on card, a TF, I think there's like a Terrible Fire 330 card or a 530 card. You slap it in the expansion port in the back. Yeah, it's neat that, over here in the CD-TV lands, again, everyone was trying to make that an Amiga. And then now, yeah, everyone's trying to make this an Amiga, AGA Amiga, an Amiga 1200. And it's pretty easy to do. Slap that in there, you get a hard drive, mouse and keyboard, and off you go. If you want native hardware, not like an emulator box, like a Pi box or whatever, this is a one way you could have like a more portable, take it around, take it to shows, way to show off not only Amiga games, like native Amiga games, but using like Amiga Game System or WHD Load, you could show off a bunch of Amiga games, plus you can show off the operating system. And again, you have a full computer. You can use this with, you can get the FPU version of the 68030, and somebody's probably figured out how to put a 68060 into this thing. Maybe there's going to be Pi Storms available for this, or there already are. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research on the old CD32 upgrade paths. I just wanted to show you that, yeah, it is possible. I did the same thing in the CD-TV over there, but I didn't have enough stuff. I didn't even have a keyboard or mouse for it, so at least here I was able to do some other things. And yeah, if you go into Workbench, I don't think we're going to see anything amazing. Yeah, that's just good old Workbench. Let me type in a thing. CPU. All right, so we've got 680660 instruction cache burst, data cache, no burst. Yeah. So yeah, there's no FPU in this. It would say that, right? All right, so yeah, FPU, none. Well, that would explain it right there. Oh, it's a 50, yeah, it is a 50 megahertz. 50 megahertz 60830. And there are the specs. There's your chip speed versus 600, 3.28. And that's pretty peppy. No wonder Wing Commander is playing so smooth and quick. So, yeah, I guess that helps you folks out who want more info. Give us more info. There's the more info. All right, well, I rambled on long enough. Yeah, CD32, world's first 32-bit CD-ROM console thing that no one played because it sucked, apparently. I mean, really, it didn't have a lot of games. It just didn't. And then you have to be like a Super Amiga nerd and install modifications to make it turn into an Amiga to actually do anything with it. Yeah, that's it. I guess I'm done with this video. Another quality video from Q, giving you like 1/10 the information you actually expected. Thanks for watching.